Oh, great. Thank you very much. Once again, good afternoon. My name is Ibironke Yekinni, Princess Ibironke Yekinni. I'm currently here in the UK. I'm a Nigerian, by the way. And today, I'm so privileged to be speaking with you on how I'll be solving unemployment in Africa with testing and selenium. Once again, welcome. But before I dive in, I will quickly talk about my journey in software testing, my life before software testing as a career, and why, and how my mission of solving unemployment, in Africa through software testing and Selenium came to be. So life before software testing. I've had a background in my national diploma with computer science, higher national diploma in computer science, and of course, bachelor's degree in computer science. And of course, after your graduation in Nigeria as a country, you have to go on the compulsory 1 year graduate training program, which we call the National Youth Service Corps program, where you get to have experience in different backgrounds or go to voluntary services for different organizations. In the course of doing my 1 year NYC program, I was posted to an IT firm, luckily for me. And while I was working in the IT firm, the first question that my recruiter in the firm asked me when I got there with my letter was, "What can you do?" And I said, "I graduated with computer science first degree." He said, "Yes, he knows, but what exactly can you do?" And I said, okay, I know how to use Excel sheet. I know how to type on Microsoft Word. So yes, that's all I can do. And mind you, I had distinction, I had first class. And yes, so even though I've done computer science in school, it does not translate to the tech skill that is high in demand out here. And I couldn't get any IT role, definitely. So I was posted to the admin department. And during the administration department, most of the activities I do are more of admin role, of course. Get to do the maniac job, get to make sure that everybody in the team is fine, get to get food for my team members and everything like that. And I remember one day I was sleeping after the stress of going out and so tired. And my manager then asked me, "So have you heard about the different skills in tech?" And I said, "No." And it was like, "Okay, do you know about product management? Do you know about web development?" Of course, I've heard web development in school. I did a little bit of Fortran and Java to print out Hello World, but that was it. And he said, "Okay, you know what? Take this application that we want to launch and just look through it. If there are any issues you find, write it down." So I went through the application, and yes, I came out with over 100 issues in the application, and he had to start fixing them. And then he asked me, "Do you know what software testing is or quality assurance?" And I said, "I don't know what that is. I've never heard about it before." And he said, "Okay, so maybe you should study more about it because I think it's something that you might really want to check in as a career." So I checked it, really didn't have so much to inspire me to get started with it. So I went ahead with other skills, other careers like product management. So I took some courses, took some certification in a very short time, within a month. And I was put on the project as a product manager. I worked on the product. I was able to launch the product, but I then quickly realized that this is not something I want to do. I went ahead to study web development just like everybody else, CSS, HTML, JavaScript. I was already coming up with some beautiful UI designs. And then I realized the complexity in different programming language, the algorithm and all of that. And I said, "No, this is not what I want to do right now." So I went ahead to do Scrum Master, UI UX with Adobe XD, data analysis. I got full scholarship with nano degree from Udacity. Then it was so interesting because I've always had flair for statistics and mathematics throughout school. So it was interesting, but I was just not seeing the work opportunities that I wanted to do with it then. Plus, I was already getting tired and bored of it. So I went back to the first love, which is software testing. And I started digging into what software testing is all about. What is quality assurance and what is software testing? There was so much misconception. And the truth is, in my country as I've done, which is Nigeria, there was really nothing big about software testing. There was even though it is, I mean, of very young age, then, I mean, this was barely 7 to 8 years ago, it was still not known. It was still, I could barely count up to 50 software testers in a whole country as of then. So I get into it and I realized that this is something I'm quite passionate about and I really like to do it. So I set up to start learning software testing. And quickly at that stage, I realized that API is my real first love. So that is how I started learning software testing, and I started testing the application for my company then. Fast track to when I finished the 1 year program here, and finally it was time to get a job. The truth is, I got a job in the blink of an eye. There were so many companies in need of software testers, but very few people with the skills. So I got my first job. I stayed there for barely 2 to 3 months because it was more like a contract role. And finally, for the first time, yay, I got a full-time software testing job. Guys, this opportunity came with a very good perk, good salary, good devices. This was an engineering team full of men, of course. I was the only lady, but I was fine with it. It was fun. And I was just so excited to go and resume on my first day. And if you know Nigeria very well, or if you have not been to Nigeria before, we have this trademark kind of a bus. And that is what we use for transportation. It's a public transportation. I was going to my work to resume on this very first day, and I saw someone who is now in that state that I was then, who is now an NYSC person. And it was being sweaty, it was being so tired. And he said something when my boss just moved to where he was standing because there was huge traffic as usual. And the guy made a statement in pidgin, which I was trying to translate to you. He said, "No, be see all this stress where we did you save, no, be say job day." Meaning, with all this effort and stress we are going through, there is no guarantee for a job opportunity. He made that statement, and the truth is, I've been hearing the same statement for years. But for whatever reason, this statement struck me that day, and it just changed my entire mood. I was sad throughout till I got to office, my first day at job. I was literally crying. Yes, I went to the restroom. I would cry, I'll come back, I'll do my work, I'll go to the restroom, I'll cry, I'll go back for my onboarding. And that was the way my first day went. I went back home thinking about the solution to that problem that day. And I got home, and one prayer I made before I slept as a Christian was, "God, help me to be a solution to the unemployment rate in Africa." I slept that night, and yes, in case you're guessing, yes, I'm a Joseph the Dreamer. And I had a dream that night where I had a list of curriculum written out when I woke up. Of course, the curriculum has been updated, but the truth is that curriculum is what I've been using today to change the stories of over 2,000 software testers, in fact, 2,000 individuals in Africa who are now working as a software tester. And that was where the whole journey and the whole mission of solving unemployment rate in Africa through software testing and Selenium got started for me. Let's get started. So, of course, as of today, I'm currently the CVO of Testify Limited, which is more like a platform of a planet of software testing, like we call it. We train people to become software testers. We help manual testers to upskill into test automation. We outsource, and of course, we consult for companies. I'm also the convener of Tech for Christ, which is a faith-based platform for empowering believer employable IT skills and businesses. I'm also the co-founder of SmartRift, which is a fintech for local traders. I'm currently the head of testing at African Fintech here in the UK, which is a financial technology product entity. And of course, I'm the community lead for Ministry of Testing in Lagos, in Nigeria. Of course, I know everybody knows Ministry of Testing. All right, so let's talk about the situation in Nigeria today, or in Africa today. Now, according to ILO, the unemployment rate in Africa in 2019 was up to like 7.4% in 2018. However, this number really doesn't really reflect the situation of things in the country, as unemployment rate in sub-Saharan Africa was estimated to like 2.9%, but in Northern Africa, it is higher to like 11.4%. Youth unemployment is a major and a particular concern in Africa, with an estimated 60% of the continent unemployed, under the age of 25. Now, imagine what happened when the COVID-19 pandemic occurred. These are significantly impacted, the unemployment in Africa. And with ILO estimating that the continent lost 30 million jobs in 2020 as a result of this pandemic. Many African countries have actually tried to implement various policies and initiatives that are aimed at reducing unemployment and promoting job creation, but this training often has little lasting impact because 67% of the youth remain unskilled. Let's bring it home down to Nigeria, where it all started from. Nigeria has a substantial unemployment problem, which has made it more worse, in fact, which even became much more worse during the COVID-19 pandemic. The NBS report that Nigerian unemployment rate in the fourth quarter of 2020 went up by 27.1%, and that was in the second quarter of the year. Now, the year on the radius of things was much more higher to 42.5% at the fourth quarter of 2020. Now, Nigeria has a very high, unemployment rate, which is due to various factors, including the lack of job opportunities, a mismatch between the available jobs and the skill of the job seeker, and most importantly, a weak economy. The COVID-19 pandemic has also had a significant impact on the job market, which, causes a decline in major sector. The Nigerian government is trying to reduce the unemployment by implementing various programs. This effort, but most of this effort has hindered by funding problem, implementation challenges, and a lack of political will. What does this translate really to? All the data and the percentage that I've mentioned. There is an economic impact because this problem actually exists. Unemployment has a negative impact on the economy. It is a major one that people rely on who are working and contributing to GDP growth. This can also lead to an increased poverty level in the country. Let's talk about the social impact. Unemployment can also lead to social unrest, as a frustrated idle youth, can, of course, get into criminal activities or political violences to express their dissatisfaction with the economy or with the social economies, and which, of course, lead to the rate of drugs and alcohol abuse, mental health problems, and other social issues. Increased dependency. Let me give you a typical example of a typical African company, African country, or African family, where one person is successful and currently working, and he has over 16 people to feed with it. Unemployment, increased dependence on government welfare programs and aid from international organizations, which can be very difficult to break, can strain government resources. What about brain drain? In the countries with high unemployment rate, many skilled workers may choose to migrate in search for a better job opportunities, which can lead to a brain drain that can hamper the country's economic development. We can see that from the things is from 2021 to 2023, the rate of Nigerians that have moved outside of Nigeria down to the UK is at a volume as high as 42% of Nigerian youth. What about the political instability that this leads to? Unemployment can lead to the loss of faith in the government and contribute to the political instability. I'm sure you're wondering that, okay, now that I know that all of this problem exists so far, what have I done to change it? In 2018, I became the community manager for software testers in Nigeria, where I actually organized over 14 webinars, meetups, and conferences, all towards making software testing and QA knowledge more saturated within the system. In 2019, I took it as a responsibility to train 352 novices into becoming software testing engineers. In 2020, I've employed more people into the job market to join me to make this work more better. And I've also transitioned. This has also increased to help me train over 512 individuals to become software testing. As a company, I pitched the importance of QA and testing to 62 companies. Well, I really did not work with any one of them. And I could not outsource to any one of them in 2020 due to the pandemic issue. But in 2021, I've already transitioned over 1,000 individuals to become software testers, got featured on different global and international and local medias like Forbes, Our Network, Business Insider, and of course, 2 local media houses. However, the best news that happened for us in 2021 is that 93% of these people that we have trained have now secured job opportunities through self-interview and even outsource, while 12% of them currently got international offer. Of course, in 2022, we launched the Automation School, and a total of 1,516 students have been transitioned from manual testing to automation testing, people that don't know anything about testing to becoming software testers. And of course, in 2023 so far, partnership with ISTQB, Unified, and many more, launch our brews, and we are currently in the process of creating more courses and opportunities, more knowledges and opportunities for people that want to learn software testing, including covering courses that focus on blockchain, cloud computing, application security, and many more. And you wonder, what is now the importance of testing that has made so much impact, in today's market for us in Africa? The importance of test automation in today's markets in Africa is one, efficiency, consistency, scalability, cost effectiveness, quality assurance, and competitive advantage. Maybe international market system has the luxury of doing manual testing and being certified with that. But in the African ecosystem, automation has become the order of the day. Every single company wants you to get the application to be tested quicker, especially with the new dawn of agile system. So efficiency, consistency, running your test at scale, cost effectiveness, and going through a more competitive and making you become a more competitive in the marketplace is one of the major reasons why a lot of these companies really want test automation. And guess what that translates into? It means that there is now an high in demand need for test automation testers. So, and why is that? The adoption of agile and DevOps methodologies. Of course, you agree that this system makes it more efficient to testing processes. And a lot of this can be achieved through automation testing, which increases the demand for automation testers who are proficient in test automation frameworks. The need for faster time to go to the market. Everybody wants to go live and launch. Now, with increasing competition in the software industry, companies are looking to release software faster and more frequently. Automated testing allows for faster testing and feedback and reducing the time needed to release new features or product due to the lesser regression time taken. Let's talk about the cost effectiveness. Automated testing is more cost effective in the long run as it reduces the need for manual testing, of course, regression testing, which can be time consuming and expensive. This has also led companies to invest more in automation testing and hire more test automation testers. So, and of course, we have the demand for quality assurance, the skill set shortage. With increasing demand of automation testers, there is currently a shortage of skilled professionals in this area. This has created opportunities for individuals with an expertise in automation testing to secure well-paid job in the industry. I know you have started to think, okay, if I'm in Africa today and I want to work as a software test automation tester, what should I be considering? I would say this is why you should consider Selenium. And that is why we consider Selenium for test automation as an automation tester, generally in Nigeria and in Africa as a whole. Why Selenium? One is it supports cross-platform, right? I don't need to have the also pursuit of having different tools set up just because I want to test on different platforms. The wide range of programming language that it supports, Python, JavaScript, Java, Ruby, and many more of them, including BDD test. It is easy to use, easy to install, to set up, and it has a very easy, it produces a very easy UI, and in fact, a much more easy way to get anyone started in the testing industry. Support for different kind of testing. You want to run a functional test, a regression test, or a compatibility test. The large community support. I dare to say that Selenium has the largest 2 community support that I've ever seen, with a wide range of over, I think that last time I saw was over 50,000 community members. And even in Nigeria here, we get to have a lot of people to support you anywhere you get stuck because a lot of people get to use it. So there is ability for you to get shared knowledge, contribution to solve problem, and of course, everyone will always be there to help. Integration with other tools is like an easy peasy with Selenium. It can be easily integrated with other tools such as test management tools, building tools, and continuous integration tools, making it a valuable asset in the DevOps environment. I would say, how is Testify addressing the shortage of experienced professionals and less quality product? One, we do that through our academy, through the consulting services, through the outsourcing. And of course, we have a massive Nigerian testers network community where we also help each other. And of course, we also have our software as a services product for software testing product that we also have. Let's focus more on the academy. The academy has become the leading Pan-Africa software testing institute in Africa. with a focus on upskilling individuals with an interest in software testing, and of course, becoming a test automation tester. And like I mentioned earlier, this academy has gotten featured on different global and local industry media houses. What do we really train in the academy that makes it like the top of the day for everyone that wants to dive into testing? We deliver a switch to software testing training. Now, in this training, we cover like 4 modules. The first module covers the fundamentals that every single person who wants to dive into testing must know, more like an ISTQB for anyone. The module talks about the manual testing. We focus on the full software testing lifecycle, including API, MySQL, and database management. Now, Module 3 is where we introduce them to test automation, covering topics like Selenium IDE, Selenium WebDriver with programming language like Java. Module 4 is securing your first job, LinkedIn creation, CV resume, interview prep, how to accept and reject offers for the first 90 days opportunities. Now, you wonder, this is exactly what we do that makes most of our students get opportunity before at most the first 3 months of graduating at the program. Module 3, most of the time, helps them to get the job and get into the world environment or into the company generally, because they have an automation testing in Selenium, which is like the top number 1 tool that everyone wants to use in the testing industry. With test automation, even the novices that just completed in 90 days get to easily secure either internship, junior, or intermediate level job immediately. We also have testimonies from these people. Someone from Nigeria signed up from this program. She said she's glad she signed up for the final year with the program, and she got the job immediately. In fact, she was in school. She was in her final year when she got the job. And that simply means that as of today, she doesn't even know what lack of job opportunities really mean. Ridwan is in Zambia. He said the automation testing stood him out, and he was able to switch from his support role to a software test engineering role within the same company. Virginia is from Australia. In fact, she was just moving to Australia, and she said moving to a new country comes with its own hassle, but securing a job wasn't part of it because of this training. She got the job immediately she got into a new country, meaning that with the software testing skill, and especially having the module 3, which comes with the automation with Selenium, can easily help you become the top pick within the industry. Mohammed said he has been jobless for 8 years before he finally came across the program. And in 2 months after graduating, he was able to secure a job as a test automation engineer right there at UAE. The other course we provide is the automation simplified for manual testers. Of course, we cover the fundamentals of test automation. We talk about the CI/CD and deployment for module 2. In module 3, we teach people at least 2 programming language in module 3, where they get to learn JavaScript, which is mandatory to get them started with the programming world, and the header pick between Java or Python. With this knowledge, they come into module 4 to integrate this programming language skill into Selenium to do API tests, web automation, and mobile automation, especially, and everything is done with Selenium. And then in module 5, they get to go for a more better job opportunities or negotiate better at their current company. And of course, we have some of our students who are currently working at Visa as a test automation engineer, Keeper as a test automation lead, InterSwitch as a the test automation lead, Vodafone as a test automation engineer. Now, solving unemployment in Africa with testing and Selenium is more like a dream and a mission. It's more like a dream. In fact, a more bold statement that was starting as an hobby, but finally became a life mission for me. The mission is to address the issue of unemployment in Africa by providing training and resources to help individuals to learn and utilize Selenium for testing automation, by promoting the use of this training for individuals. We also help them to acquire valuable skills that are in high demand in the tech industry, which increase their employability opportunities and provide them for career growth. My goal is to empower individuals to become self-sufficient and contribute to the development of their communities and to the African continent as a whole. And this can only be achieved, of course, through collaboration with other experts around the globe and partnership with other tech companies who will need these skilled engineers to deliver high-quality products. And I will end this to say that if anyone is interested to continue and fulfill this mission with me, feel free to hit me up in the contact and meet me page. That'll be all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have about 10 minutes for questions. Would you like to answer some questions?
Yes, please.
Awesome. Do we have any questions? Yeah.
Thank you for taking on this mission. I had some questions kind of around the differences in, I guess, experiences with finding jobs. My background is I've always been in the U.S., and so I'm not really sure what the job search is like outside of the U.S. And so I was kind of wondering, do you find that the software engineering jobs or the software testing jobs that are available are stable? In the US, some of my experience with looking for jobs is that testing jobs could be contract jobs where they're only available for a certain amount of time, maybe a short project. And then there are other jobs that are available for, full employment, longer amount of time. They're more, what I feel is more stable. So I'm just kind of trying to understand your experience with the people you've been working with. How has it been for them to find jobs?
Okay, so one of the things we implement at the end of every training is that we do this interview prep. We call it a tier. We always have a tier program for 1 week for all our graduates. And what we do is we bring in different recruiters to come and interview these people so they can have them in their pool. Most of the time, these recruiters get to send up job opportunities and they say, hey, I remember the guy that I interviewed at your company, right? I think it will definitely match this opportunity. So we connected with so much recruiters, so that can always help us to send your CVs to different recruiters. However, one of the things I also used to educate the team member or the student is don't be limited to the 4 walls of the country. One thing that I know that you can secure opportunities in any country that you are, which is currently what we do. My advice for them is always to go to secure opportunity. Most of the people that have secured opportunity internationally, some of them usually get contract, yes, to get started. But in the course of the job, they then come back and say, I think they'll be retaining me. Oh, I've gotten retained at the end of the contract, or the 6 month contract is now going to be prolonged to 1 year, it's now going to be prolonged to 2 years or 3 years. I think the only difference, or only the difficulty in this is because of the time differences. US to Nigeria is almost like 6 hours apart. So most of the time they get to work overnight while it is during the day at the other side. So yes, some of them get contract, some of them get full-time jobs. I've had more full-time job than contract job opportunities, testimony and offers from the students. Also, when most of them that are also learning these skills relocate to other country, it's always very easy for them to secure the opportunities in that country as a full-time person. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any other question?
Sure. So I guess being from Africa myself, this is very inspiring what you're doing, and I'm really humbled about what you're doing, and I want to thank you for that. So my question is actually, I would really want to be able to translate that from where I'm from the Congo, and Congo is actually a French-speaking country. So do you have any testimonies from people who actually wanted to do training but that can't really speak English? Because that could actually be a barrier to having people, to solving unemployment in Africa. So I guess how easy do you think it's gonna be to translate that in non-English speaking countries in Africa, or it's something that you've already started, or if you're thinking about it, like how do you think that could be approached?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. And it's so nice to meet you as well from Africa. Um, Currently, we are doing something to that because I remember the first time someone that was not in Nigeria reached out and said he wanted to do the training, and I'm like, okay. I had someone from Ghana, I had someone from South Africa, and then I had someone, of course, I started having people students from Canada, students from Germany, students from UK say that they want to be part of the training. And then I started having issues also when someone from Zambia wanted to make payments for the training. Then it now made us to start thinking of enlarging the course or enlarging the scope of our work. Currently, one of the things we are doing right now is to translate our program into 2 basic languages. We are trying to translate it to Ghana, and we're also trying to translate it to French. The reason is because we have more students from Germany, and of course, most of them speak German or French or English language. So we have French and we want to go into Ghana. So most importantly, we are going to be having get the course translated to that languages and also get facilitator in that language. The first thing is to train them in that skill so that they can also like communicate better to them when they are having them. Also, you need to know that the training is 100% remote. We don't do it physically because we have people that are working and trying to transition into a new job. So we make it 100% remote. What we now try to do, I think the best way that would be approached is one, to have people from these different regions who are interested in testing. First thing, of course, we have to use a translator English at that point to get them interested. Then we need to teach them on these courses itself in their own language. Once we have instructors in those languages who can do software testers, then we can start bringing them in to help us translate this training into different language, and then also have then start being their mentor or start being their facilitator. Another thing we currently do right now is we have the testers network that I mentioned earlier. In the testers network, we have different people in Africa who are in that community. So we have a community for Rwanda, right? We have a community for Kenyan. We have a community for Ghanaians. We have different channels for them. So most of the conversation they have it in their own languages. And some of them come and say, Princess, you know what? Let's have one more general speaking language course for these people. So they want to learn software testing, but we can't create the course in all the languages that exist in Africa. So let's find one more language that is solely accepted, and that was French. So currently we are in the process of translating it into a French language. And we are currently, on the other hand, those that can speak both English and that language, French, they are currently in the process of learning testing. They are currently in the process of working, and that way they can also better to mentor people. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is so inspiring. Do we have any other questions?
Thanks again for the presentation. It was really amazing, and also speaking someone that's equally African. I'm Cameroonian, but of course raised here in the United States. So my question is really two-tiered. The first one is really how long is the program typically? You may have covered it, and I might just missed it. And then in addition to that, are you generally seeing a trend of more organizations being willing to, hire folks from different parts of the world? Because I know COVID happened and, there's a lot of remote work and some companies feel a certain way about it. But is there generally a positive trend there for an organization like yourself that you're seeing that more organizations are open to, hiring folks from all these different places, despite several factors, like one of them being time zones, like you just mentioned?
All right. Thank you very much for that question, and nice to meet you too once again. The program we are currently to right now, the Switch to Software Testing program for anyone who wants to get started into, the tech world, or probably you have been selling something before, doing anything else that is not tech, and you just want to switch into tech. I'm always saying that the requirement for you is to have a functioning laptop, a mobile phone, internet access, and electricity. And that will take you 3 months to take the program. It's for 90 days, it's for 3 months. And the 3 months is quite intensive because aside from the courses that you get to learn, remember you're coming from probably a non-tech background or a customer service role. So there are some other things that we also put into the program to make it more rich in content. For example, we have our community in the academy. So everybody comes to a virtual classroom, like we use the Slack for communication. We have different teams. And in that team, you have your accountability partner, you have your own mentor assigned to you. And of course, every Saturday we meet together for correction, and then we proceed learning. We also do like rewarding session, people that we are very thought, people that we are, this person pay great attention to details. This person is a very great bug hunter. This person, different activities to make it more fun. So that's a 3-month program. The automation simplified, which is meant for manual tester, just like the criteria we have for the beginner, but here you have to have been into software testing for at least, let's say, a year, because we need you to have the experience of a manual tester before you say you want to start automating. But this program lasts for a duration of 6 months. Yes, and the reason why it lasts that long is because you have to learn programming language. We don't just want you to know how to test. We want you to be able to work as a software test engineer. We want you to be able to develop framework architecture. We want you to be able to and this covers for both API, web, and mobile. And you're going to be learning 2 programming language. You can imagine people who, like, I don't want to go into coding. I don't like coding, So you want to take them that baby step by step, so that they can easily transition into, the testing world, into the test automation world. So that lasts for 6 months. By the beginner, won't last for 3 months. Now, talking about the second one, talking about if there's a positive trend in companies hiring folks from different parts of the world. I think pandemic happening is part of like a good thing, because it sort of make us learn better as an organization. We come to realize that, hey, I don't need to be in the 4 walls of the building. In fact, most companies that I know right now are even saving the cost of paying for building or physical location, and actually increasing their salary of their staff. So they don't have issues to be on the internet. They don't have issues to work. Meetings do the best of your physical video meetings, do the best of the conversation. And of course, I think I've seen a very huge, trend of company embracing hiring opportunities or skilled engineers in different parts of the world. I was in Nigeria when I started working with a company in Netherlands, right? Before COVID, personally as a person, I would not have even think that was possible, right? I would have been thinking of relocating to Netherlands before I start applying for job. But when these people saw that, okay, this person can work remotely and she's good and she has the skill that we want, let's hire her. So I was working with them in Netherlands while I was in Nigeria. I was working with a company in Ghana while I was in Nigeria. And when I got to the UK, because I was a student, I'm not allowed to work as a student here in the UK. So I had to be working in another country while schooling in this country. So I don't get to do any other job than still my software testing job throughout my stay here, even till I'm done this year. So I think there is an embracement. I see a huge positive trend in companies embracing the opportunity for remote. And even in the UK here, even though you want to get a remote job here, you can still be in the UK and still work completely remote. My company has a branch. Okay, the company I work with here in the UK is fully remote. I've practically never seen my team member physically for once before. And it means that I can be in Nigeria. When I was in Nigeria last year, I was still able to get my tax done. So yes, I see a massive positive trend of companies embracing remote opportunities. And I also see people, embracing getting more skills, knowing that they can secure job in any part of the world. I don't know if I answered your question well.
You did. Thank you. You did. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been inspiring and wonderful to hear about. Yes, thank you. Next talk is in here in about 10 minutes. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye, everyone.